Hey, physics friends. Here we are. An unprecedented time in a lot of generations. This is really weird. 17 years of teaching, and I've never been a part of anything like this. But I didn't know if you thought Mr. Heer was, he'd forgot about you, but here I am. Today what I wanted to just make a quick video to let you know where I am, where we're going, how this, I have a couple of really cool demos to show you with social distancing and things that you can show your family. We'll talk about physics. What are you going to need going forward? What's happening? I'm sure you've got lots of questions about how this is going to work, and I've got answers. They're not always the right answers, but they're answers. And then the weeks to come. So at the end of this, I've got, if you still have questions or something that you're interested in, I've got a Google Doc right below this on Google Classroom where you can fill out. Just let me know how you're doing, any concerns that you have. This is all very flexible as far as what we're going to do and where we're going to go. So let's get started. Social distancing. You've probably heard this word, and you've maybe heard of the term flattening the curve. What does that mean? Washing our hands. Let me show you this cool thing I showed my kids today. My kids, when I say my 2-year-old, my 2nd grader, and my 4th grader. This is a really neat thing you can do at home, and if you've got little kids too, like just the importance of washing your hands. This is a bowl of water, and you take pepper, so you just kind of like put a little pepper in on the water, and it'll float. And that pepper is supposed to represent the germs or whatever. So you put your finger in it, and those germs will stick to your finger, no big deal.
Someone, do you want to put your finger in? Stick your finger in. Oh, and the germs. Have you got any on your finger? Look,
but what's really cool is you can do this at home. This is a fun thing to try. Put a little soap on your finger. Put your finger back in there and watch what happens.
With the soap. Whoa!
Just to kind of drive home the kids that soap is what protects us. This is not what's going on with the virus. It's just a metaphor that little kids, it helps them understand what's going on. So if you've got little kids in your family, or you're just looking to do a cool little science experiment, give that a try. You can Google how it works if you're interested too. The Washington Post, this is more kind of your alley right here as far as your level. The Washington Post did a really cool piece on how the coronavirus spreads and the idea of what does it mean when we're talking about flattening the curve, what does social distancing, how does that all work from a physics standpoint. It is kind of like a little bit, they use a cool physics analogy here that I wanted to show you. So they're going to do a couple of demonstrations. So this is the past, up until 3 days ago, this is in the United States, the number of cases that we've seen. So then you can just see this exponential curve happening. And so we're at, right now, March 16th. You can just about imagine how many thousands of cases are whipping around the country right now. So they're going to run these simulations, and this is what it looks like. The red represents a sick person. So every time a red ball bumps into another ball, sick. Gray means that they're healthy. So you'll see this color code, healthy person, sick person. So they're bouncing around. But in reality, people, you overcome this sickness. So you'll transmit it, but then purple means that they're a recovered person. So they're recovering. So this is kind of the color code that we're using here. So now look, check this out. So here's a simulation where you just let people run wild. Every time a red ball hits some other one, you'll see the infection happening, transmitting, and you can see the number of sick people, the number of healthy people, and then how many recoveries. So this is over time. You're actually watching what's happening. Now, eventually people are starting to recover, right? And our sick people are actually declining. Now, what's really important is this happens in a sample size of 200. There's 200 balls flying around here. So let's say your hospital can only handle 100 people. So imagine a line going across here. When it gets over 100, that's bad. They just can't handle, they don't have equipment, they don't have beds, they don't have ventilators, they don't have things for a certain amount of people. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to limit how many people get sick at one time, because if it can overload our healthcare system. So here's something that China did. Well, one of the things, a forced quarantine. So if you know that there's a section of people that have this, then you can just cut them off from the rest of the world. So you can quarantine this. But what happens with a forced quarantine is somebody will get by. It always happens in that you'll see that if a person slips by, a person slips in, eventually what's going to happen, there it is. There's a person that one person trips out, now it can infect the entire rest of the population here. And that's going to go very kind of quickly. So we're still climbing. And here we are, we're at over 100. Like if we only had 100 beds, we've now overwhelmed our healthcare system, which isn't that bad. This actually wasn't that bad. Now, here's an example of what if we have what's called social distancing. You've heard this probably over the last few ideas, and maybe you don't quite understand it, but let me show you what it looks like from a demonstration standpoint or a simulation. So what we've done is we've frozen 3/4. So 1 out of every 4 people is still moving around, right? Still infecting, still being infected, transmitting, healing, and you're watching these number of sick people climbing. And now people are starting to recover, right? So here's the idea, what we call flattening the curve. So at no point in time did that ever get over 100. That's just a random number that I picked out. But just to show you that here's a way for us to not overwhelm our healthcare system. Like if the numbers don't get above that, you'll be doing okay. So and now what if we did even more? Like what if not 1 out of every 4 people were moving around? What if 1 out of every 8 people are moving around? Because you're right, you still have to get groceries. You still want to visit your parents. You still want to visit. There's things that have to happen. For what maybe you're a mailman. There's things that happen in this world that you really can't eliminate. So here's if 1 out of every 8. We call this severe or drastic social distancing. So most of the people are still. 1 out of every 8 people are moving, and you can see over time that this really flattens the curve. So the whole idea of what we're doing right now, why school is closed, why all these athletic events are closed, why everything of people over 50, I mean, they're closing bars and restaurants in Ohio and Illinois, and I would assume Wisconsin's going to do the same thing in the week to come, that you won't see this stuff. What we're trying to do is when they say flattening the curve, they're trying to limit the amount of people moving around to kind of stop this thing from overwhelming our healthcare system. So when we talk about staying a minimum of 3 feet away from others, that's the idea of social distancing. Just stay away, and that's why it's there. Let's talk about your quarter 3 grades next. So I'm only going to put 2 more things in the grade book. I'm going to put in 16.2 part 1. That was the assignment that you had to do for today, Monday. So finish that on Edpuzzle, and then for Thursday, I want you to watch 16.3, which is called Polarized Light. Those are the only 2 things I want to put in. Thursday, we were planning on having a light, it's called the light test. I'm just going to give you all 100% on that. So, you're welcome. I've never done this in 17 years of teaching, but I feel like you guys are under a lot of stress. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknown, and this is my first olive branch to you saying that I get it, that this is a little bit different. I don't want you panicking and freaking out that like I'm going to sink you or this isn't going to work for me. You've got 100% on this test. It's going to be okay. Like we're going to work our way through it. Going forward. So I hope that works for you. And if it doesn't work for you, please send me an email. Tell me that you want to do something different. We can go from there. Things that you need moving forward. So as we go out these 2 weeks, what are we going to need to try to do what we're going to do online? So thing number 1, I need you to get a compass. Like if you were in physics class or not physics class, you need this. This was on the the syllabus that I sent home on the very first day, saying that you needed to have this for the second semester. I need you to have this after spring break. So the week after spring break is when you need to get a compass. So you can get them at Walmart. You can get them at Menards. They are, if you can find where the tape measures are, there's a group of them there. They're actually really nice ones there. You can get them on Amazon, Or if you know anybody that was in physics last year, you could just save yourself a couple bucks and say, hey, can I get your compass? Maybe your parents have one. I don't know. There's a lot of places to get these, but I need you to have one of those from when we come back from spring break. The next one says a hymnal. Turns out, kids, those envelopes that you address to yourself, they're going to come in handy. I am going to be sending to you what I call the physics hymnal. It is your notes, basically. Any notes or worksheet that I was going to give you in class, I just photocopied them, stuck them in what I'm calling the physics hymnal, and those are going to be mailed to you. So you'll get these in the mail. I don't know how long it's going to take to get there. But like any other book that you're singing, we might not do everything in here. So if you get this and you're like overwhelmed by how thick it is, I'm still figuring this out myself. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give them everything, but that doesn't mean we're going to do everything. It's going to be a lot of audibles. This is our playbook. Day by day, we're going to work our way through it. So this is for me, for you. The second thing, there's some reflection and refraction practice. So with your compass is going to be worked on these things right here. The third thing that I'm going to send you in the mail, and I don't have it right next to me. Give me one moment. The third thing that you're going to get is your quizzes. Yeah, there's a little thing down here that says, I don't want you to look forward on it. I don't want you to cheat. No using your phone. No using your Chromebook. Don't look ahead. There's a lot of trust that I'm putting with you in this. And I don't exactly know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to put those in the grade book or not yet. Right now, what I'm thinking is maybe before every test, you know how we come in the day before a test and I give you a quiz and I say, take 15 minutes, work on it on your own, then take 10 minutes, work on it with your friends, and then we'll take 10 minutes, I'll go through the answers, and that'll be it. I'm thinking that that's what I'm going to do with these quizzes. So I don't want you to panic like, oh my gosh, I have to get these quizzes and they're going to be graded. I have no idea what I'm doing yet. I'm just ideas. And I'm looking for ideas from you too. If you have any good ideas, I'd love to hear them. So that's what I mean by hymnal. You're going to get some papers, and it's just going to be me calling off page numbers. Adobe Scan. This is an app that I want you to put on your phone. You take a picture and it converts it to a PDF, and you can share it very quickly. This is how I give you guys all those PDFs that you get from me, answer keys and so on. So maybe if I do want a quiz or a test back from you, put that on your phone to send to me. And I can get a stylus from my iPad to like circle, and we can share things back and forth pretty quickly, I think, with this Adobe Scan app. The next thing that I'm going to need from you is the Zoom app. So Zoom looks like this. It's an online meeting place that I use. I was introduced to it. NASA's been using this with me for the last 10 years, and it's like gone through the roof. It's a really great program. This app is very nice because it's basically a meet, and we're going to try it out. I'd like to try it out tomorrow, to be honest with you. So tomorrow at, about 10:45 a.m., I'm going to put a link on our Google Classroom. So I want you to install Zoom on your phone, and then I want you to, 10:45 tomorrow, I want you to click on that link, and we're just going to do a trial run to see how this works. Like, it could fall totally flat on our face. It might not. I don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to do a trial run tomorrow with Zoom at 10:45. Look for that link on Google Classroom. If you don't have a pencil and you're not writing this down, I want you to pause this video right now before I go any further. Pause it, get a pencil, and write those 4 things down, because those are things I definitely need from you to do in the days to come. The weeks to come. So I want you to be flexible, and I'm going to be flexible too. I know that you guys have a lot on your plate. Maybe some of you are watching younger brothers and sisters. Maybe some of you are watching neighbors. Maybe I don't know what's going on in your life. I'm sure that you have things that I can't even think of. But I will be flexible, and I want you to be flexible as well. Think of that olive branch, that 100% I'm going to give you on that last test. So if something upsets you or you think that that's like an unreasonable request, just remember that, hey, remember that time that Mr. Heer gave me 100 on the test? Like, okay, I'm putting money in that bank, if you will, and there'll be times where you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this is not, I have better ideas. Just please work with me, and I'll do my best to work with you. Know that I'm thinking that we are not going to get through a lot of the things that I had planned to get through with you this fourth quarter, and that's okay. I'm okay not doing it. There are other things that are more important. So just know that as we go forward, it's not going to be overwhelming. I don't want it to be overwhelming. I want it to, but I still do want to get through some physics with you. We've got reflection and mirrors to do next. There's refraction and lenses that we're going to do after that, and then we've got electricity. So there's a lot of great online apps that we can go through. I don't know how long this curtailing of school is going to last, so we all have to be kind of flexible here. The primary way that I'm going to be communicating with you is through the Remind. You probably were sent to come here because of that Remind. That Remind system is really great. I'll just boop, send you a reminder to say, hey, go on Google Classroom, there's an update. So Ponca, it is your job to get Wes Scher doing this stuff. I need him. I know that he's been very reluctant, and I need someone to help me get Wes Scher to be coming on here to do this stuff because it's going to be difficult. And so reminders, Google Classroom, that's where we're going to be at there. So this is where I'm going to leave you. So what next? So go to the things that you need, right? And let's get the Zoom app, and let's all meet tomorrow at 10:45 in the morning. It's normally Pride Time. That's when Pride Time would meet. So get that Zoom on your phone, and we will go from there. As I finish up today, below here you will see that there is a Google form. It's just me asking you, do you have any questions? I'm sure there's things that I didn't get a chance to address with you right now. I hope that you're doing okay. I hope your family is like hanging in there. I think it's really important that you go outside and get exercise. You'll find that just being in your house, I was walking around today this afternoon, and I ran into a physics student that lives in my neighborhood, and we had a good conversation. It's just good to get outside. Be outside, get a little bit of exercise, walk, bike, run, anything to be moving, because that's going to help your morale. It's going to help you stay mentally healthy in these weeks to come. So dedicate a certain amount of time every day to just get outside, and move your body. That's important. But fill out that Google form, and I will see you tomorrow at 10:45 a.m.